Today, we'll take a look at the exciting footage that captures the moment, how Ukrainian FPV drones silently blow up a Russian soldier fleeing in battle. A Ukrainian FPV drone recorded the tragic last moments of a Russian soldier desperately trying to escape. In a gripping and tragic video captured in an undisclosed location along Ukraine's 600-mile-long front, the desperate final moments of a Russian soldier's life were documented as he futilely attempted to escape a Ukrainian FPV drone on foot. The footage reveals the lethal attack drone closely tailing the soldier, teasing him before executing a fatal strike, and the clip concludes with a sudden explosion filling the screen, and once the smoke and dust settle, the lifeless body of the Russian soldier is seen lying on the battlefield. Official casualty figures are not publicly disclosed by either side, but Kyiv estimates suggest that Russian casualties have surpassed 400,000. Analysts speculate that the ratio of Russian losses to Ukrainian forces ranges between 3:1 to 5:1. Ukraine has been actively bolstering its domestic weapons production, with innovative DIY drones playing a pivotal role in its battlefield strategies. Despite the ongoing conflict entering its third year, European military heavyweights Germany and Poland confirmed on Tuesday that they would not be sending troops to Ukraine. NATO, led by the United States, also reiterated its stance of not planning to deploy troops to Ukraine. The announcement followed similar declarations from Central European leaders, who asserted they would not be providing soldiers for the conflict. In response, the Kremlin issued a warning, stating that a direct conflict between NATO and Russia would be inevitable if the alliance were to send combat troops. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said, "In this case, we need to talk not about probability but about the inevitability of conflict." The warning from Moscow comes on the heels of French President Emmanuel Macron's statement suggesting that sending Western ground troops should not be ruled out in the future. Emmanuel Macron made this comment following a conference with top officials from more than 20 of Ukraine's Western backers, highlighting the ongoing international concern over the evolving situation in the region. While 2 years of Russia's full-scale war in Ukraine has resulted in the deaths of 83,000 Russian soldiers, according to a joint study by independent Russian media outlets Meduza and Mediazona, published on February 27th, but Russia does not release data on military casualties arising from its full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Meduza and Mediazona announced in July 2023 that journalists had accessed a restricted but non-classified database of inheritance cases and compared trends to those in publicly available mortality data from Russia's State Statistics Service, records from the Russian probate registry, and obituaries. The resulting data gives an indication of how many Russian soldiers have been killed since February 24, 2022, and the report noted that though the front line has virtually frozen in 2023, the rate of losses not only did not decrease, but increased significantly. By the end of 2023, an estimated 75,000 Russian soldiers had been killed, making the average 120 deaths per day. But this is due to an increase of troops at the front line and increased firepower of the Ukrainian armed forces, which received Western weapons and ammunition. The number of dead soldiers also began to accelerate in October 2023, when the Russian offensive on Avdiivka began. Losses reached the highest peak between January and March 2023, during the battle for Bakhmut, the report said. According to our data, during this period up to 2,000 people died a week, and most of them were former prisoners, with a prison population reaching over 400,000 inmates due to one of the highest rates of incarceration in the world. Russia's Federal Penal Service provides a unique human resource for the Russian military, the UK Defense Ministry reported in January 2023. Former prisoners make up the largest share of dead soldiers, followed by contracted soldiers, and in third place, those who were forcibly mobilized. Medusa and Mediazona's calculations only apply to those who have been killed, not seriously wounded or discharged, while the UK Defence Ministry reported on February 24 that according to its estimations, approximately 350,000 Russian personnel have been killed or wounded. The latest Ukrainian military update said that Russia has lost over 409,010 troops in Ukraine since the start of the full-scale invasion. In 2 years of conflict, Russian losses match and in many cases surpass those that comprised its original force of at least 100,000 personnel. Mobilization and recruitment, production and refurbishment of existing stockpiles mean that Russian forces in Ukraine are now larger in number than at the start of the war, the UK Defence Ministry said. Neither Moscow nor Kyiv releases public information about troop losses, but the Russian military's culture of dishonest reporting means that Russian officials themselves likely have a low level of understanding about casualty figures, the ministry said in December 2023. Meanwhile, Russia will escalate an ongoing influence operation this spring aimed at destabilizing Ukraine and scuppering international support for Kyiv in its 2-year-old war with Moscow, Ukrainian intelligence warned on Tuesday. Ukraine is struggling to fend off Russian troops along much of the front line as Kyiv faces challenges in replenishing its ranks and a potential cut in U.S. military aid. During the coming weeks, the enemy will make every effort to spread narratives that are destructive to world security and attempt to incite conflicts both inside Ukraine and in other parts of the world where there is support for Ukraine, it said. There was no immediate comment from Russia about the statement. The Kremlin said earlier this week that Ukraine had been receiving help from the CIA to counter Russia for more than a decade. Russia casts its invasion as an attempt to denazify Ukraine, which it claims was taken over by fascists after a pro-democracy revolution in 2014 that ousted a Moscow-backed president.
Пострел! Пострел! О, нет!